A football Wednesday edition of the show. Welcome into the lunch break, KDUS AM 1060. Chris Schubert with you for the next 2 hours on this last day of the week here for the show. We are out tomorrow and Friday celebrating the holidays, so let me get ahead of it. Hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving, if we don't say that before we get off the air here today. Producer Dylan, could you do me a favor? I'm not supposed to do this on the air, but could you do me a favor? Could you close the door to my studio? I left it open, and I do not want to get yelled at by people if I'm too loud. Now, there's nobody in the building here today, so I don't know if people will be bothered by that, but I don't want the open door to be an invitation for people to just run in here and just cause trouble on a Wednesday. So, it's a Football Wednesday edition of the show. We will have Cardinals to get into here today. We will have to do the NFL look-ahead here today. We have to make our picks here today. Boy, does this slate of games stink. Awful across the board, not just tomorrow. It stinks all across the board. But despite that, despite it being a Football Wednesday edition of the show, we're not starting the day with football.
Time for our top story of the day. It's the Daily Special.
How'd that feel last night? Did it feel good? Did it feel good watching the Phoenix Suns back as they are supposed to be? Did it feel nice? Did it feel nice to see Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal and Devin Booker all together again on the court? Absolutely smacking around the Lakers in the second half. A 127-100 win in the NBA Cup group play action. But more importantly than the NBA Cup, it was the first game in a very, very, very long time, or at least what felt like a very, very, very long time, for Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker all to be on the floor together at the same time. As last night, Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal returned to the lineup, and I think we were all excited. We were all anticipating their return. We spent yesterday talking about how we can get back to evaluating this team correctly, evaluating this team with the proper context, with how they are designed in 2024. And that excitement, that buzz, that anticipation, the 8-1 start that they had with all those guys healthy, I think there was part of us all, or at least there was part of me that was like, okay, yes, they're back. Yes, we know what this looked like when they were all together, but these guys are coming off of injuries. I don't know exactly what this is going to look like. Are they going to be able to hit the ground running? Boy, did they pick up like nothing ever happened. That stretch of games where they lost, 6 in a row to fall to 9-7? Forget that even happened. Didn't exist. When we tell the story of the 2024 Suns, we're going to forget about that 6-game stretch. And this is the point I was trying to hammer home throughout this process. Because it's not fun. It's not fun to come in here and talk about a team that is losing games, slipping in the standings, and the only answer can be they don't have their 2 best players or 2 of their 3 best players. That's not very sports talk radio of us. I can't say the same thing over and over again every single day that the Suns play. Well, they didn't have Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal. Well, they didn't have Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal. It gets old. That shtick, it's not fun. It's not interactive. It's not entertaining. We're trying to be entertaining here on the show. I can't do that if the Suns are not playing well because of the same reason every single night. So it was not enjoyable. And we live in a world now where because of the NFL, it has ruined everything else. We do not look at sports in the vacuum of the sport that they are in. We look at everything now through the lens of the NFL. Everything is through the lens of every game matters. Every single game is life and death. And I'm going to tell you, after they won last night, the Suns have only played 17 games this season. 17. They played, 6 or 7 games without Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal? In the big picture of what this season could be for the Phoenix Suns, that's going to be a footnote at the end if everything goes according to plan. A footnote. If this team makes a run to the Western Conference Finals, this stretch that we just saw this team go on, footnote. Going to be forgotten about. And it's hard to do that in the moment. It's hard to say, this isn't a big deal. Don't worry about this. This isn't this team true to form. But watching last night and watching them immediately go back to being the team that started the year 8-1. They also didn't do a lot of what they did during that 8-1 stretch. They didn't hand the Lakers a big lead. Had a 2-point lead going into halftime. I think it was a 2 or 4 point lead at halftime. Came out in the third quarter, blew the doors off the Lakers. Just took it to them in the third quarter. Game was over. Game was over. Non-competitive in the fourth quarter. That's the reverse of what we saw. We saw them have to dig out of 17, 19, 21-point deficits on a regular basis when they were hot to start the year. That wasn't the case last night. This team were without two of their three best players for a stretch that saw them lose 6 in a row, fall from being in the conversation of the top seed in the Western Conference all the way down to being a play-in team. That's what this stretch did for them. And last night, this team, this group, picked up exactly where they left off. Oh, what a surprise. Devin Booker is able to lead this team in scoring and have a major impact on them being able to win. You want to know why? Because you got to pay attention to Kevin Durant. You got to pay attention to Bradley Beal. You have to pay attention across the board to these three stars. Grayson Allen's starting to get hot. This is the team that was put together for this season. We got it. We got to see it again last night. And they didn't just pick up where they left off. They made us feel, at least they made me feel last night, that 6-game stretch never happened. I'm going to make a movie reference. Producer Dylan is a little younger than me. He's going to give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down if he understands the movie reference. And I'm here to tell you right now, I'm not normally the one that should be giving the movie references here on this show. But you know the Men in Black, the pen, the memory, that's what the Suns did last night. That game last night was, hey, forget what happened those last 6 games. Forget about it. It doesn't exist. Not real. Didn't happen. This is real. This is what's happening. And we tried to tell you this. We tried to warn you. Stop thinking about this sport and most sports, all sports. Stop thinking of sports through the lens of the NFL. Stop thinking that every single thing that happens night in and night out during the basketball season, during the baseball season, carries the same weight that an NFL week does. It doesn't. Is a 6-game losing streak ideal? Absolutely not. You do not want to have a 6-game losing streak in the middle of your season. That's not ideal. But you know what? What's also not ideal? Losing Kevin Durant for 2 weeks. Losing Bradley Beal for about a week and a half. That was also not ideal. And the fact that those two things paired up exactly the same time tells me that the reason why they struggled is they didn't have their 2 best players or 2 of their 3 best players. It's that simple. It's that easy. And last night should be further proof that what they did to start the year is not a fluke, because Kevin Durant can be hurt for a couple of weeks. Bradley Beal can be hurt for a week and a half, and they can immediately go back into the lineup and play a Lakers team that's turning back the clock. LeBron James is throwing it back to when he was 28, 29 years old. Anthony Davis is proving he's one of the best big men and one of the best players in the game. That's a good Lakers team. It's a Lakers team that's playing better than I think people thought they would so far in the early part of the season. And you on your home court, after those 2 guys sat out for as long as they did. And oh, by the way, you as a team sat down for 5 days? It's been almost a week since they last played. And you had all 3 members of the Big 3 score at least 20 points last night. It was perfect. It was perfect in every sense of the word, because that was the game that washes the bad taste out of your mouth from everything that happened the last 2 weeks. Everything. It's completely forgotten about, because you know what? That group that lost 6 in a row, that's not the group that's going to be in the postseason. That's not the group that's going to have to play meaningful basketball games down the stretch of the regular season. It's not. The group that is going to be playing those meaningful basketball games, ideally, the group that is going to be taking on the rest of the Western Conference in the postseason, they're 9-1 as a group this year. 9-1. So do yourself a favor with the holidays around the corner, with Thanksgiving. Do yourself a favor. Just like the Men in Black movie. Take that pen and forget what happened over the last 2 weeks. And I know that's tough to do in sports. I know that's tough to do, but forget about it, because it's not real. It is not true to form of who this basketball team is. What is true to form for this basketball team? What they did last night. Boy, was that fun. I was here. NAU men's basketball was on last night. I had the game on. It was fun. It was just a great time to watch. They just looked like they just picked up right where they left off and didn't miss a beat. That is a very encouraging sign for the future. On the other side, the Cardinals want to stop it before it becomes a streak. How will they do that? That's next in the lunch break. KDUS AM 1060. The lunch break, KDUS AM 1060. We appreciate you joining us. You want to join the conversation? You can do so in two ways. 480-864-1060 is the phone number. You can also join us on the YouTube side of things. Just search KDUS AM 1060, and you can join the live video version of the show and leave your thoughts in the live chat. It is a Wednesday, but it feels like a Friday. We are doing all of our Friday staples here because we are out the rest of the week. So we have the NFL look-ahead coming up in about 15 minutes. We have the Schubert 6 on a Wednesday, getting our picks in early. I put the finishing touches on those today, and I'll tell you right now, not an easy slate of games to pick from. Not just Thanksgiving, because you have Bears, Lions, Giants, Cowboys, Dolphins, Packers is your three games tomorrow. There's nothing that you really jump out of the chair for. There's nothing that you're going to be like, hold the second round of the Thanksgiving dinner. I got to see this play of Giants Cowboys. You're not saying that tomorrow, right? You're not doing that. You're going to watch, trust me. And I've already got some plays in for tomorrow's games that are unrelated to the Schubert 6. So I will be paying attention to all three of those games very closely. But you are not going to go out of your way to say, hey, I need this plate in a hurry because fourth quarter, really close game, Giants Cowboys, they're playing for the division. No. None of that. Also, by the way, doesn't Tommy DeVito not traveling with the Giants to that game right now? Looks like he's going to meet them a little bit later. They play tomorrow, so if he's not leaving with the team today, is going to leave later today, that doesn't give me much confidence that he's going to be the starter. I will tell you, it is so bad this week. It is so bad. And I'm not going to do the Schubert 6 before we do the Schubert 6, but it is so bad that I have something from Giants Cowboys in the plays this week. Something. I have multiple plays on Thanksgiving altogether because this slate of games, it stinks. It is not very good. The numbers are really sharp. The matchups are kind of gross. It's going to be a weird Sunday of football on Sunday. It's going to be a weird day of football tomorrow, but we'll save that for the next couple of segments because we've got the NFL look ahead and the Schubert 6 right around the corner. But we appreciate you joining us here on this Football Wednesday edition of the show. The Cardinals, we do this on Fridays normally. We give you the keys to victory and what a defeat would look like. We look at it from both sides of the coin. And if the Cardinals are to make sure that this is not a losing streak, that it is just a blip on the radar, if it is just a small detour and they get back on track and get back into the win column and continue to apply maximum pressure on Seattle and on the rest of the teams in the NFC West for this divisional spot, what does that look like? How does it happen? And unfortunately, I think to answer that question, we have to ask and answer another question. We opened the show talking today about the Phoenix Suns, right? And how they looked like the now 9-1 group that they are when all three of those guys in the big three play. And how forget what you saw in that middle stretch. Forget what you saw when they lost 6 in a row. Forget what you saw that had them go from the top spot in the West to being in the play-in. That saw them go from, 8-1 to then 9-7 before winning last night, defeating the Lakers 127-100. We told you to forget about that stretch. Well, the Cardinals are kind of like the Suns in this way. There are two versions of the Arizona Cardinals, just like there are two versions through the first 17 games of the Phoenix Suns. There's the fully healthy, fully operational group of Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and Bradley Beal. And then there's the non-operational side of the Suns where two of those three are out. Well, with the Cardinals, there are two versions. There is the version that won 4 in a row, that went from 2-4 to 6-4, went from are they going to sell at the deadline? What pick are they going to have to first place in the division needing to be buyers at the deadline? And then there's the version that got them to 2-4. And I'll lump in the Sunday game. So the 2-5 Arizona Cardinals or the 4-0 Arizona Cardinals. There's two versions of the Cardinals. The difference between them and the Suns is I don't know if there's one thing I can point to. With the Suns, it's easy. Didn't have Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal. With the Cardinals, what can I point to why they went from 2-4 to then going 4-0? What is it? Because the defense that played well during that 4-game winning streak also showed up last Sunday and only allowed one touchdown, offensive touchdown to Seattle, only gave up 16 points. So if you want to say it was a defensive turnaround, well, that defensive turnaround also showed up on Sunday. So then you look at the other side of the ball and you look at the offense struggling. You look at an offense that was dominant against the Bears, an offense that was dominant against the Jets, an offense that was able to have a comeback in Miami, an offense that did just enough against the Chargers. But there's nothing as easy, as quick, as instant as no Kevin Durant, no Bradley Beal, like there is for the Suns. So how does this not be a streak? How is this not a losing streak where they lose 2 in a row and they fall back to 500? It's simple. Be the version of yourself across the board, all 3 phases, that you were when you were 4-0. Because it's pretty clear, at least what happened this past Sunday. The offense had their worst performance of the year. An offense in an environment that was probably set up extremely well for them. A environment where running the football should have been the go-to. You couldn't get the push up front. You couldn't run the ball. Your leading rusher had 18 yards. You put a lot on Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray played his worst game of the season. Kyler Murray made his worst throw of the season. Those are the things you would point to if you think this is just a streak. Or a blip, I should say, and not a streak. If you think this is just a blip, you say, Kyler played his worst game of the year, made one of the worst throws, was a tough environment, they're really good at running the football, this was just a blip, and you could be right. You could be right. It could just be a blip. Here's the problem, though. I've seen a version of this team. I've seen a version of the Cardinals that started the year 2-4. I watched them struggle on one side of the ball or another. So did they regress back to being the 2-4 team that's going to be inconsistent on one side of the ball every single week and drop games? Or was it a tough environment up there in Seattle? The bye week, they ruined the mantra that I have that you can't be unprepared for your game after the bye, but they were unprepared for their game after the bye. They didn't adjust. They didn't make the in-game adjustments. Kyler played a bad game, and you wiped the slate clean, and things will go back to the way they were. I don't know. Because, oh, by the way, you're playing a 9-2 football team. You're playing a football team that's trying to hold on and keep pace in the NFC North. You're playing a football team that, when they don't play their best, like you didn't play your best on Sunday, they find ways to win. They find ways to beat the Jags 12-7. They find a way to hold on against the Bears despite blowing it in the fourth quarter. They find a way to beat the Colts and beat the Titans when not playing their best football. You didn't do that last Sunday. They did. They didn't play their best football in the second half and in the fourth quarter, but they found a way to win. So if this is going to stop before it becomes a streak, before it becomes we're starting to maybe sound the alarms, we're starting to get concerned about the wheels falling off the car here. You got to get back to basics. You got to get back to who you are as a team. This offensive line got to get a better push up front. You got dominated by the Seahawks. You got dominated. Now, I don't know if Minnesota is going to provide to you the challenge that Seattle did, but it's going to be loud. Maybe if you were going to take the glass half full approach, you would say another week for Jonah Williams to install himself back into the starting lineup. He'll get better as the season goes on, and they'll be able to gel as a group like they were before he returned from the injury. You can't have less than 50 yards on the ground rushing. You're not going to win football games. So the Cardinals have to get back to basics. They have to get back to their identity because they got away from their identity on Sunday. Their identity failed them on Sunday. It's why they lost a football game. It's why they struggled to put up any type of points in that game. Put up 6 points. Now, despite that, despite as bad as it was, despite us talking about this potentially being a losing streak if they lose on Sunday, here's why you would be optimistic about Sunday. They were still in that game late into the third quarter. They were still in that game after the pick six. So they played arguably their worst game of the year offensively. And I can't think of a performance that's worse considering the magnitude. So their worst game offensively of the year, they were still in the game. They still had a chance. They still could have beaten Seattle. So that's your confidence. Yes, you lost, and there's no such thing as, moral victories even in a loss. You either win or you lose. That's it, especially at this stage of the season, with every single one of these games mattering. You went from being in control of the division to now being an observer. You need help. You can't just win football games. You need help across the board. You need the scoreboard watch. So there's no moral victories, but you played your worst game of the year offensively, and you still had a chance to win the football game. Now, you didn't. That's concerning, but you could have. And so the way this doesn't become a blip is that the reaction from the coaches, the reaction from the players. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to change up what you're doing. Get back to basics. Get back to who you are. You run the football extremely well. You get a push up front. Trey McBride is going to continue to be a stud. Marvin Harrison Jr., got to get him more involved early. They kind of lost that in that game. And you have to have a short memory. You have to have a short memory. You are still in this. So you lost. You played your worst game of the year offensively. You still have a chance to win this game and set up a really big rematch against Seattle. So that's how it happens. You get back to basics. You get back to who you are as a team, because while who you are didn't work against Seattle, who you are is what got you to this point. Don't try to change things up. Don't try to upset the apple cart. Be who you are. There's a bunch of other games this weekend in the NFL. We'll start by talking the Thursday games tomorrow. Then we'll get into what you're going to see on Sunday. It is the Week 13 NFL look ahead. We do it next here on the lunch break, KDUS AM 1060. We appreciate you joining us here on the Wednesday edition of the show. Chris Schubert here with you. The lunch break, KDUS AM 1060. Got you till 1 o'clock here today. 480-864-1060 is the phone number. It's week 13 in the NFL. We go around the NFL, and I'm not going to give away the Schubert 6 picks, but we'll preview. I'll give you my quick thoughts on all of the games that we have this weekend starting tomorrow in the NFL. It is the Week 13 NFL look ahead, and it starts right now. And we'll start with tomorrow, Thanksgiving Day. You'll be sitting, maybe you're starting to cook. I would expect most people eat their Thanksgiving dinner, 2, 3 o'clock? Later than that? 4 o'clock? 5 o'clock? 5 o'clock feels late. I've always been a 2:33 guy. In my house, it's always been 2:30, 3 o'clock. The turkey is ready to go. The sides are out. It's time to sit and enjoy. So if that's the case, the turkey, however you're going to cook it, you're going to deep fry it outside. You're probably already doing that as we speak. I don't even know how any of that works. But either way, you probably already have the turkey in the oven. You're probably making the sides. And while you're doing that, you can flip over to CBS because you'll be watching Bears-Lions. As the Detroit Lions, who are a staple on Thanksgiving, 9.5-point favorites against the Chicago Bears at home. Jared Goff and company look to get to 11-1, start their Thanksgiving weekend, their long weekend off right with a victory. The Bears, 3 heartbreak losses. I mean, think about how differently we would be talking about Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears if they didn't lose the game to Washington the way that they did. If they didn't have the field goal blocked against Green Bay. If they didn't lose in overtime last week against Minnesota. We're talking a 7-4 football team instead of a 4-7 team. A team that's directly in the NFC wildcard race, and now they're not. I don't know how many of these gut punches you can take. You're going to travel to Detroit. That place is going to be loud. It's going to be ruckus. It's going to just be an awesome environment, and the Lions try to move to 11-1. Again, 9.5-point favorites over the Bears. Now, 2:30 rolls around. You're starting to put plates out. You got sides that are ready to go. You're yelling at people to sit down, start enjoying the festivities. And you're going to do everything in your power to get away from the television so you don't have to watch Giants-Cowboys, because that's your 2:30 game tomorrow. Cooper Rush. I don't know who the quarterback for the Giants is going to be. Tommy DeVito, staying behind, not traveling with the team today, getting extra scans, is going to travel later in the day today. Is it Tommy DeVito? Is it Drew Lock? Is it Tim Boyle? Who's going to play quarterback for the New York Giants? They're also down, I think, 2 starting offensive linemen in this game. Dallas, a 3.5-point favorite. And I'll tell you right now, the total for this game is 37.5. And you know the rule. You know what I say about totals in the 30s. I'm not touching this one. This is not making the Schubert 6 because I have no idea what to make of this game. Dolphins, Packers at 6:20. So after you've eaten, you're sitting down, you're relaxing. Maybe you just got done having a slice of apple pie with some vanilla ice cream on top, and you're ready to unwind. Or maybe you're going in for seconds or thirds. I don't know. You do you. It's Thanksgiving. You do whatever you want. You can sit down on NBC and you can watch the Dolphins and the Packers. The Dolphins, winners of 3 in a row to vault themselves right back into the AFC playoff race. The Packers coming off their big win against San Francisco the previous week. They're at home. They're trying to keep pace with the Lions in the division. And so win or lose for the Lions earlier in the day, the Packers will either have a chance to gain ground or keep pace. And they'll be welcoming in a Dolphins team that, look, hasn't really played anybody the last 2 weeks. Raiders and Patriots were their last 2 games, but they've put themselves back into the conversation. We'll see how they do up in Green Bay. Green Bay, a 3.5-point favorite for that contest. You think you have to wait till Sunday? Oh, no. How about a Black Friday football game? You can watch this on Amazon Prime. The Raiders, 2-9, going to go on the road to take on the 10-1 Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs, 12.5-point favorites at home for this Black Friday game at 1 o'clock. You can hear that game right here on KDUS AM 1060. We will have the Raiders game for you as they travel to Arrowhead to take on the Chiefs. Another litmus test for the Chiefs. They're out on the Schubert 6. They're on the do not bet list. We will not be betting them anytime here in the future until they prove it. Can they cover a big number like this, or are they a team that is just going to continue to find ways to win football games, which is what good teams do. But you know the saying, good teams win, great teams cover. The Chiefs not a great team yet. They're only a good team because they're winning. They're not covering. The Raiders going to start Aiden O'Connell in this game after they lose Gardner Minshew to the collarbone injury. So they're going to turn to Aiden O'Connell in this game. The Chiefs 12.5-point favorite. So there is your Thursday and Friday games. Now we get to Sunday. Less games to pick from. But with nobody on the bye this week, everybody's back in action. How about the Chargers and the Falcons? And this is going to be a real case of who can stay true to their brand more. Are the Chargers going to Charger? Or the Falcons going to Falcon? A little bit of both. We saw that the other night with the Chargers and the Bengals on Sunday Night Football. The Chargers coming off of a loss to the Ravens on Monday night. Can they bounce back? They're traveling on the road. The Falcons, look, they're 6-5. The division's right there for them. It's open. It's available. Can they do anything to just give us any sort of belief that Kirk Cousins and this Atlanta team is trending upward? Vegas certainly doesn't think so. The Chargers on the road, 2.5-point favorites. Tells you what they think about this Chargers team. The Steelers-Bengals will meet in an AFC North clash. The Bengals 3-point favorites at home. Despite being 4-7, the Steelers, a lengthy break, basically a de facto bye week, played last Thursday in the snow. Loss, a close one to the Browns. They'll rebound here by going to the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals need this one bad. You want to talk about a team this week that's going to be playing with a stench? They're going to smell to high heavens of desperation. That's the Cincinnati Bengals this week. They're going to stink of desperation because they need this football game. You drop to 4-8, it's over. Start thinking about what you're going to do in the draft to help Joe Burrow. Start to wonder if you need to make a change at head coach because at 4-8, you're cooked. So they need this one. The Steelers looking to bounce back from their loss on Thursday night as well. The Cardinals and the Vikings, we've been talking about that. We will continue to preview that as the show goes on. The Colts will take on the Patriots. The Colts going up to Foxborough, 2.5-point favorites. The Colts at 5-7, they're still in this. If I said that the Bengals win keeps them in it to get to 5-7, the Colts going up to New England and beating the Patriots to get to 6-7, it would keep them right there in the mix. Anthony Richardson, they try to bounce back from the loss to Detroit. The Patriots, I don't know, man. You get excited about watching Drake May? I mean, that's about it. You're 3-9. You're 3-9. You're 1-4 at home. I don't know. Do you even want to win these games if you're a Patriots fan? You got the quarterback. Does anybody watching New England right now think that they didn't pick the right guy when they took Drake May? He's the only redeeming part of their team right now, specifically on offense. He's the only thing to get excited about. So you got that. You'd like to see him play well. You'd like to be competitive. But wouldn't you rather lose this game like 27-21 late? Like, isn't that what you'd rather do? What does winning do for you? Winning doesn't do a whole lot. You got the quarterback. You don't need to pick that high. So I don't really know what you're rooting for. The Seahawks, they travel to MetLife Stadium, East Rutherford, New Jersey. They're 2-point favorites as they will take on the 3-8 New York Jets. Geno Smith revenge game. I don't know how many times this can apply, but we will apply it here as Geno Smith returns to MetLife Stadium. Was a Giant, was also a Jet, was drafted by the Jets. He'll have a chance to return home and try to push his team to 7-5. Winners of 2 in a row beat the 49ers and the Cardinals. They'll try to make it 3 in a row as they take on the Jets there in MetLife Stadium. After dropping 2 in a row, they've now started a little streak of their own, and they will try to continue it against the lowly Jets, who, is Aaron Rodgers hurt? Is he not hurt? Has he rejected scans? Has he not rejected scans? Who knows? You ask him, he says he's fine, just a little banged up, hasn't rejected scans, knows his body well. You ask the reporters who are covering this team and covering the league as a whole, they're telling a different story. A mess there in New Jersey for the Jets. The Titans will take on the Commanders. The Titans coming off of a win over the Texans. The Commanders coming off of a loss in which they cowardly didn't go for 2 after scoring a late touchdown to make it 27-26 against the Dallas Cowboys. They decided to kick the extra point. How's that working out for them? They now have to try to win this game at home as 5.5-point favorites to stop a skid. They are losers of, I believe, 3 in a row. Lost to the Steelers by 1, lost to the Eagles on a short week, and then lost to the Cowboys in the fashion that they did. They cannot afford to fall to 7-6. You fall to 7-6, losers of 4 in a row. I think people are going to start to think that you are not for real, that you hit your ceiling in year 1 with your rookie quarterback, with Cliff Kingsbury as your offensive coordinator, Dan Quinn in his first year there in Washington. People are going to be like, all right, that was fun. It was fun while it lasted, but you're still a ways away. You're still behind the curve a little bit. People thought maybe you accelerated the curve because you got the quarterback so right so quickly. You lose this game to the Titans. I think you got to put everything back on the table. I don't know what we would say about this Commanders team, but they're 5.5-point favorites at home. Boy, is there nothing I want to do less than watch Texans-Jags. Good thing that's in the early window, and Scott Hansen can bounce me around to a bunch of other games, and I'll be keeping an eye on Cardinals-Vikings, but boy, do I not want to watch Texans-Jags. I know the Texans are 7-5, and they're 4-point favorites, but they haven't played good football in a really long time. The Jags, they're 2-9. They stink. They're bad. Just a bad football team. Don't know if they're going to... I mean, Doug Peterson can't be there for very long. He can't. Can't possibly be there long term. So, Houston, if you want me to take you seriously, I know you're leading the division right now, but think about this. You lose this game, and the Colts win against the Patriots. You have a one-game lead in the division. Uno. That's it. A one-game lead. So I don't know how you do it. The late window, you got the Rams and the Saints. The Rams going to need that football game. Need to keep pace in the NFC West. They're also going to know what the Cardinals and Seahawks have already done, so they'll know what a win or a loss would do for them. And they're playing the Saints team that has been playing better since changing their head coach, but they're still 4-7. And so in a dome, we'll see what Matt Stafford and company will be able to do. The Panthers hosting the Bucks. Oh, by the way, the Rams 2.5-point favorites on the road. The Bucks 6-point favorites on the road as they will travel to Carolina to take on the Panthers. This looks like a really nice spot for Tampa. They went in and they beat up on the Giants, so they didn't exert a lot of energy on the road. And the Panthers last week at home exerted basically every ounce of energy they had to tie that game up against the Kansas City Chiefs. So it feels like a really nice spot for them, minus the 6. The Eagles will take on the Ravens. The Ravens 3-point favorites at home. This line confuses me. I think the Eagles... I don't think this should be 3. We'll see what it looks like when we get to Sunday. But this is a matchup of two really good teams in the NFL right now. And the Ravens, you want to show me something? You want to show me that this is the start of something? You beat the Eagles. You beat the Chargers on Monday night. You beat the Eagles. You get to 9-4, and you hand one of the better teams in the NFL a loss, and you get us talking about you again. And then on Sunday night, you got the 49ers and the Bills. The Bills have a chance to lock up the AFC East with a win and the Dolphins loss. The 49ers, I don't know, trying to stay alive. Not looking like a good football team, not looking like the team we thought they were going to be. So, going to need to be able to win that one. They'll do so in Buffalo. That is your Week 13 look ahead. Monday night, the Browns play the Broncos, but we'll get to that later on here in the show. Hint, hint for you there. On the other side, we will wrap up our number 1 of the program. My final thoughts on ASU U of A, Territorial Cup, everything on the line, and why last night should bother you as an ASU fan. We'll do it next here on the lunch break, KDUS AM 1060. Welcome back to the program. The lunch break, KDUS AM 1060. Chris Schubert here with you. Thank you for joining us here, Wednesday edition of the show. A Football Wednesday. We got our picks coming up in hour number 2 of the show. Looking to continue. We got back into the 500 last week at 3-3, so we're hoping for a big week this week. And we went back to the well on some of the things we did last week, so not just your traditional picking things against the spread. We've got some interesting things in there as well. So that is in hour number 2 of the program. And talking about this ASU U of A game, I'll tell a quick story if that's okay with everybody here on the Wednesday edition of the show. I was here last night running things for the NAU men's basketball game. Lost a heartbreaker last night. Had a huge second half comeback, but ultimately fell short. They play again tonight. You'll be able to hear that starting on 1440 a.m., but it will also be on 1060 after the Sports Zoo with Rooster gets done. You'll be able to hear the game, which tips off at 6 o'clock. You'll be able to hear that here on 1060. So I was sitting here during the game last night, and I had the TV on, and I was bouncing back and forth, watching some college basketball. The Suns were about to start, and it was the college football playoff selection show. Now, let me just tell everybody, and I'll be the first person to admit this, I don't normally watch the college football playoff selection show or the ranking announcement. I don't need to. I just know at 7 o'clock, my Twitter feed, my X feed, whatever we're calling it these days, is going to tell me who's in the top 25. They're going to tell me where the committee ranked certain teams. And if there's any quote from whoever the committee chair is on a given year, I don't even know who the committee chair is this year. Whoever it is, if they have a dumb quote about something, I'll hear about it. I will see it. So I don't need to sit down and watch, but I was here. I had the TV on, and I kind of looked up and, oh, they're doing this. Okay, let me pay attention. Let me see what's going on. And all right, they're revealing 25, 24. All right, in my head, I'm thinking, all right, I know kind of where I think ASU is going to be. And then I see ASU at 16. I see ASU as the 16th ranked team. And I see where they put Boise State. And I see that in the projected bracket, ASU would not be one of the top 4 seeds that won a conference championship that would get the first round bye. Oh, no. They would be the 12th seed, and they would draw Ohio State in the first round. Committee told you last night what they thought of the Big 12. Committee told you that they think what Boise State is doing is more impressive than what ASU is doing. I disagree strongly with that because I know Boise State only has 1 loss, but I look at ASU's resume. ASU has 2 wins of their 9 against teams that were ranked in the rankings that the College Football Playoff Committee put together last night. Boise State doesn't have that. Boise State can't say that 2 teams that you've ranked, 2 teams that you have ranked right now in this version, not in some old version from 4 weeks ago, in the version that you put out last night, ASU has beaten 2 teams that you have in the top 25. 2. Boise State doesn't have that. And so maybe by the time we get to its conclusion, if ASU beats U of A this weekend, if ASU wins the Big 12 championship, they will then add a 3rd ranked win to their ledger. Maybe that will be enough. But the committee last night told you how they currently feel about the Big 12, and more importantly, how they currently feel about ASU specifically. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, 480-864-1060, producer Dylan can correct me wrong too, or correct me if I'm wrong as well. When we did this last week, BYU wasn't sitting in the 12 seed. BYU had one of those buys, didn't they? So BYU got the respect of the committee. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's how this went down. ASU beat that team after being ranked. They're the 12th seed. Okay. It is the perfect set of circumstances for Kenny Dillingham to walk into his locker room and say, these folks still don't believe in you. You beat an SEC school in Mississippi State earlier in the year. You've taken care of business against Big 12 schools that nobody thought you were going to be able to beat. You went in to Manhattan, Kansas, and beat a ranked Kansas State team. And not only did you beat them, you were up, 21-0? You took it to them in the first half in Manhattan, Kansas? Committee doesn't care about that. Doesn't care that you followed that up by a 21-0 early lead against BYU, and you led wire to wire. They don't care about that. They don't care that you beat Kansas State. They don't care that you beat BYU. They think what Boise State is doing is more impressive. They still view you as the team that was projected to finish last in the Big 12. That's how they still view you. It is the perfect thing for Kenny Dillingham to use as motivation for this week. It is the perfect thing to use to get his guys absolutely jacked up for this game on Saturday against U of A. Not like they need the juice, but anything you can do to get your guys that extra level of motivation, to find that extra level for Saturday, you're going to use it. The College Football Playoff Committee handed it to you last night. Handed it to you. They gave it to you on a silver platter. They said, you're only the 16th best team in the country, and we don't think of the 5 conference champion winners that get a bye, we think you're the worst. We think you're the worst. We think Boise State's better than you. We think that Boise State has a better resume than you do. And I got to tell you, this is going to be a wild weekend. Now, ESPN wrote a story about the anger index, right? Of who can be angry. And this is what they said about the Big 12. They said, imagine if Boise State and Tulane both went out earning conference championships. And then the Big 12 is either 3-loss Kansas State, 3-loss Colorado, or 2-loss Iowa State. By the way, no mention of ASU in this scenario. And then all 3 of those teams right now, Kansas State, Colorado, and Iowa State, are ranked behind Tulane and Boise State. So there's a scenario where 2 Group of 5 champs get in, and the Big 12 champion is left out. Again, the committee told you last night what they think about the Big 12. Because ASU is the only team that's in front of these Group of 5, both of these Group of 5 schools, multiple ones. So I was annoyed. I felt disrespected last night because somebody has to make it make sense to me. Because the other thing that the committee did, and I promise this is the only committee thing that I'll do here today, I promise. But they just tier teams based on their record. And then when they want to ignore the record, it's for SEC schools. Look at the way the first couple of spots play out. And then, so here we go. Oregon, 11-0. Easy. You put them at number 1. Then your next 5 schools are all 10-1 power schools. Ohio State, Texas, Penn State, Notre Dame, Miami. Now, you also have 10-1 SMU. You also have 10-1 Indiana. You have 10-1 Boise State, who the committee just loves so much. Have them 11th. But they jammed 2 SEC schools with 2 losses at Georgia and Tennessee. Again, they care about record is how they organize this until they want to put an SEC school ahead, because watch what they do after this. After they put Georgia and Tennessee, it's right back to record. 10-1 SMU, 10-1 Indiana, 10-1 Boise State, 9-2 Clemson. And then instead of it being 9-2 ASU, you got 8-3 Alabama, 8-3 Ole Miss, 8-3 South Carolina. This is what I told everybody before the first version of this came out. Stop paying attention to who they put in the bracket. They tell you everything that you need to know with how they rank these teams. They are telling you with their actions, you could be 3 losses in the SEC. We're going to give you the benefit of the doubt more than other schools. You can look at schools that have better strength of schedules than Alabama, than Ole Miss, than South Carolina. You can do it. There are teams that have better strength of schedules than those schools. Committee doesn't care. Committee doesn't give a hoot about your strength of schedule. If there's an SEC school that has a couple of losses, they're going to get the benefit of the doubt. Let's give you an example here. In the college football playoff, Georgia has the hardest strength of schedule. Their strength of schedule is 1. They're 7th in the college football playoff. That's fine. Alabama has the 11th hardest strength of schedule. Okay. South Carolina, 12th. That's great. That's great. But then you got to explain to me how Ole Miss is 14 with the 27th strength of schedule. There are just things about this that don't make a ton of sense. And so the committee continues to do committee-like things, and they make everybody annoyed, but use this as motivation. Not that you need it. Everything's in front of you. You're the better football team. You are the better football team going into this game on Saturday. ASU in 2024 is a better football team than the U of A. It's that simple. They've played better. They have a better resume. It's not fluky. They are the better team. I know it's on the road. I know that program, despite what Brett Brennan says, is going to relish the opportunity to be the spoiler. They're going to relish the chance to end your season. They are going to relish the chance to forever say, we stopped this miracle season from becoming something even more for you. So they're going to be motivated. You got to have that same motivation. And I believe that Kenny Dillingham is going to have his guys motivated. Sam Levitt has met every single challenge that's been put in front of him. Don't worry about the pressure with him. You don't worry about the pressure with Cam Scatterbo. You don't worry about the pressure with Jordan Tyson. You believe in this group. The group that got this team to this point, you believe in them to get the job done on Saturday. Is it going to be pretty? Probably not. You know how these games go. It's going to be stressful. The BYU game was stressful. This game's going to be stressful. The best thing ASU can do is just go down there, and because of the way the season's gone for U of A, you lean on them early. Like, you get out to a multi-score lead, it could be, I won't say out loud what it could be, but I think everybody knows what I'm thinking of, what result I'm thinking of, what numbers I want to say out loud. I'm not going to say it, but you know what I'm thinking of. If you get on them early, you know in the back of your head what's on the line. You know what they did to you last year. That game could get sideways quickly. It could. I don't think so. But I wouldn't be surprised if we came in here on Monday and we're talking about a lopsided game for ASU. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think U of A is going to bring an inspired effort. ASU has shown that they don't really have those lopsided affairs. Things get nerve-wracking in the second half. But I expect ASU to win this football game. And I expect us to come in here on Monday, December of 2024, right? That would be what, December 2nd, December 3rd? Whatever day, it would be December. I know that it would be December. And we would be talking about a Big 12 championship-bound ASU football team. That is my prediction for you here on a Football Wednesday. When we next speak about ASU football, when we talk about them on Monday, I believe we will be talking about a team that is playing for the Big 12 championship game. They are the better team. They are playing better football. They have met the moment each of the last 2 weeks. It has not been too big to go on the road to Kansas State. It has not been too big to have the biggest game in your program in over a decade. And you are going to have a team that has been through the gauntlet already, that has had those pressure-packed moments. It's not like everything up to this point has been a cakewalk and this is the pressure. They've been playing this way for the entire season. They have specifically been playing this way for the last couple of weeks. And so here we are talking about a team that is one win away, and I expect them to get that win on Saturday because they are the better football team. They are the better football team. They're the better coach team. And it would be disappointing if we came in here on Monday and had to talk about a team that fell short because it would put a damper, I think, at least in the short term, for a day or two, or for a week or two, it would put a damper on this season. I think we will always look back fondly on this year because I do think it is the start of something, and hopefully it is the start of something, but you don't know about the future. We know about the now, and the now is Saturday, U of A, Big 12 championship game, more than likely on the line with a victory. I know we talked about that unique scenario yesterday. So there you have it. The committee, disrespectful to ASU. How do they handle that disrespect? We'll see. I expect it to be a victory. Hour number one of the show in the books. Hour number two, we've got a big baseball signing to talk about. We've got the Schubert 6 to talk about. But we open hour number two with this. The path to the Cardinals dropping back to 500. What would that look like? Hour number two of the program next. KDUS AM 1060. Hour number 2 of the program, the last hour of the week here on the show. I think with each passing minute here in the building, another person leaves for the weekend. I went out in the hallway during the last break, saw nobody here. Nobody. Corey's down to my left. He's working on the ASU women's basketball game that is about to wrap up or has wrapped up. Producer Dylan is here with me. I've seen nobody else. I've seen nobody else. It's 12:03. I mean, in fairness, 1:02, I'm probably out of here the moment this show is done here today. So that's, in fairness, I get that. But the weekend is right around the corner. Hopefully, you all have a great holiday weekend. You enjoy the Thanksgiving with family, with friends, whatever you are doing for Thanksgiving. Hopefully, it is a good one. We are extremely appreciative of everybody who listens to this program. And we've only been doing this for about a month or two. So we appreciate as we get this show started. And 2025 is going to be a really big year for the show. We're super excited about a lot of the cool things we have working behind the scenes here for the show. We appreciate you joining us here each and every day. It means the world to us. If you want to join the conversation, 480-864-1060 is the phone number for you to do that. You can also join us on the YouTube, KDUS AM 1060. Over there is the live stream for the video version of the show. We start hour number 2 by looking at the glass half empty for the Arizona Cardinals. In hour number 1, we told you, hey, just get back to basics. Get back to who you are as a team. You had a blip. You didn't run the football very well. You had I don't want to call it uncharacteristic performance from Kyler because we've seen it in the past. It's uncharacteristic to this season, but he had a bad performance. It was raining. A lot of different things you could chalk up to why the Cardinals lost last Sunday. We said get back to basics. Well, why would this game on Sunday lead to this being a losing streak? What about Sunday and what about the Cardinals would lead to them falling back to 500? For this magical run to maybe start to descend down the mountain. You lose 2 in a row, you get to 6-6, you would have completely lost control of the division and your place in it, depending on what happens, but more than likely you would be going into a game against Seattle, a full game back of them, needing that win to just even things up and then take that tiebreaker off the table. So it would put a lot of pressure on you. What does that look like? Why would it happen? Well, I think it's twofold. It's the opponent they're playing, right? This is the one game on their calendar where I can say pretty easily that the Cardinals are not the better football team. Doesn't mean the Cardinals can't win. We gave you that case in hour number 1. The Cardinals can win this football game. Would not be surprised if they do. Almost picked them for the Schubert 6. Not a surprise. Wouldn't be surprising if they won. But the Vikings are favored. I don't know when the next time the Cardinals will be underdogs. I don't think they will be underdogs at home the following week against Seattle. I don't think they will be underdogs against the Panthers or the Patriots. Those last couple games against the 49ers and the Rams, I believe one of them is a road game. I think it's the Rams game that's a road game. Who knows where they'll be at that point? So that one you might be able to say the Cardinals won't be favored. But most of the time here, down the stretch, the Cardinals are going to be favored. This is the rare exception. This is the game with a team above a record above 500, although the Seahawks have now joined them in that regard, depending on what they do against the Jets on Sunday. So why would we come in here on Monday and talk about a team that's lost 2 in a row, that's on a losing streak, that has fallen completely away from the 4-game winning streak? Well, it would be a couple of reasons. One, it would be maybe that 4-game winning streak was a little bit of a mirage, and maybe we bought too much into how well they looked over that month and maybe believed too strongly that it was sustainable. I don't buy that. I think what they've done over the last month before the Seahawks game was sustainable. I thought this was a team that could make the playoffs during that stretch. I didn't before, but by the time we got to the bye, I was all in. I was a full believer of what this team could be. I thought double-digit wins was on the table. I thought a chance to have full control of the division this week was on the table. I mean, I thought it was all on the table, and it wasn't. If they press too hard, and they're playing a Minnesota team on Sunday that is 9-2, and I don't think all 9-2 teams are created equal. I don't think the Vikings are on the same level as the Bills. I don't think the Vikings are on the same level as the Eagles. Other teams that have records that good or better, I don't think they're on the level of the Chiefs or the Lions. I don't think they're on that level. But their record is 9-2. What that tells me, and why it would be fearful for me for this game, is because I would be concerned about the Vikings having all of those wins that we mentioned yesterday when we took our first look at them. They just find ways to win. They can play really bad football like the Cardinals did last Sunday against the Seahawks, but they still find a way to pull out a 12-7 win on the road in Jacksonville, despite their offense not playing very well, needing to kick 4 field goals to win. So they can have a really terrible offensive performance, and they can still find a way to win a football game. That concerns me if you're the Arizona Cardinals, because you can put out your best effort. You can bring your A game. You can get back to basics like we talked about in hour number 1. But this Vikings team, just seemingly this year, has found a way to win these close one-score games. They have found a way to win these games that are tight in the fourth quarter. Been there, done that. They know how to win in these environments. Not to say the Cardinals haven't, but I just watched them last week not play their best football, still have a chance to win, and they came up short. Couldn't get anything going offensively, despite the game late into the third quarter before the pick six being 7-3. Didn't play all that great. 7-3 midway through the third quarter before the pick six, driving with a chance to take the lead. The Vikings have the resume. The Vikings have the battle scars. Been there, done that. We know the extra gas that we need in the tank to be able to win these close games. Can the Cardinals match that? Can the Cardinals also do that? That's a concern of mine. Do the Cardinals press? Do they panic after losing to Seattle? Do they panic knowing who their opponent is this week? Do they panic knowing what next week looks like? Are they looking too far ahead and not just looking at who their opponent is on Sunday? And they press. They're not talented enough. If they press and they make silly mistakes, the Vikings are a team that will take advantage of it. If Kyler plays the way he did against Seattle, the Vikings will roll over the Arizona Cardinals. They will roll all over them. So you have to stop this in its tracks. You have to play disciplined football, but you're playing a really good football team. And so I avoided it as a Schubert 6 play because I really don't know what side of the coin that I fall on. On the other side, the Dodgers made a major signing that has annoyed everybody in baseball land other than the Dodgers fans. We'll talk about it next here on the lunch break, KDUS AM 1060. the Dodgers did it again, didn't they? Lunch break, KDUS AM 1060. Chris Schubert here with you until the top of the hour. Appreciate you joining us here today on the show. But it was late last night where we learned that the Los Angeles Dodgers have struck a 5-year, $182 million contract with left-hander Blake Snell. They have added a frontline starter to their rotation, which we saw was very banged up in the postseason. And it is the third largest contract for a left-handed pitcher behind only David Price and Clayton Kershaw, who each got over the $200 million mark. Blake Snell, a former two-time Cy Young Award winner. I shouldn't say former. He's a two-time Cy Young Award winner. You can't take it away from him. He won the awards. So a two-time Cy Young Award winner. Opted out of the last year of his deal with the San Francisco Giants. And now will be joining the Los Angeles Dodgers on a 5-year, $182 million contract. People are not happy with the Dodgers. And I don't want to be the guy that defends the Dodgers, and I'm not really going to do that, but I'm just going to explain some things to everybody. Because you can be mad at the Dodgers for spending all this money. You can be mad at them for, once again, putting together a deal that has deferred money. Although it's not as much as Shohei Ohtani's contract, it does have some deferred money in it. It has a signing bonus in it. $52 million signing bonus, which won't count against the collective bargaining tax, the CBT. It is the fifth contract that the Dodgers have handed out that's been worth at least $100 million since the start of the 2023-2024 offseason. Do you know how many the rest of baseball combined have put together in that time? Oh, that's right. It's the same number. It's 5. The Dodgers have given out as many $100 million or more contracts than the rest of baseball combined since 2023-2024. So I get it. People are angry. People don't like that the Dodgers are having all these deferrals in their contracts, and they're just being able to give out all of this money to Shohei Ohtani and Yamamoto and Tyler Glasnow and Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts. I get it. I understand the frustration. But there is nothing about what the Los Angeles Dodgers are doing that no other team in Major League Baseball can do. They are using tools that are available to all of the teams in baseball. And I think people don't understand how these deferrals work in contracts. It doesn't mean that the Dodgers just have that money to do whatever they want with. There's escrow accounts where this money has to sit in. A certain percentage of it has to be put away. It's not as if they defer however much of this contract that they deferred, and they just now have that money, and they just can continue to do this and kick the can down the road and make it somebody else's problem. It's not how it works. It is not a magical accounting tool that the Dodgers were able to use to not have to pay the money now. There is something that they have to do with the money. And oh, by the way, all the teams in baseball, the other 29 teams, can do exactly what the Dodgers are doing. It takes the appetite of the player and the appetite of the team to put those deferrals in place. Team's got to be willing to pay out that cash for a player who isn't going to be playing for you at the time. You have to have that appetite, but everybody can do it. And I get it. It's not fun to watch one team get all the talent. It's not fun to watch one team have Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman and Shohei Ohtani and sign Yamamoto and sign Blake Snell and trade for Tyler Glasnow and be the favorites to land Roki Sasaki. I get it. It's not an enjoyable place to be. But your anger is misguided. Don't be angry at the Dodgers. Although if you want to be angry at the Dodgers, go right ahead. Be angry at your team. Be angry at the Diamondbacks for not doing what other teams can do. And if you want to say, well, the Dodgers have more money because their owners are worth more and they're able to do this, then get creative. Is there anything about what the Diamondbacks do in terms of structuring contracts that's creative? When you're a small market team, you got to get creative. You got to think outside the box. You have to think the way the Dodgers are thinking. The Dodgers are a team that have the mighty resources, that have the backing of a major hedge fund. And oh, by the way, they're doing all the cute stuff that Tampa Bay does, that Oakland does, that these small market teams do, that the Brewers do. They're also doing all of that cute stuff. So that's what bothers you, is they're having their cake and eating it too. They're spending the big money. They're getting all these players, but they're also structuring them in a way that allow them to increase their competitive window. Again, your anger is in the wrong place. Be angry with the Diamondbacks. Be angry with your team not coming up with creative ways to structure contracts. for not maybe being open to deferrals. And if you want to say, hey, your owner doesn't have as much money as, I believe it's the Guggenheim Group that owns the Dodgers, I get it. That's an uphill battle to climb, but get creative. There's not one way to structure a contract. There's not one way to get things done in Major League Baseball. You see it in the NFL all the time. Void years were a thing that were barely used. A couple of teams used them. Now everybody throws them on contracts. Read through the CBA. Have a member of your front office comb through, figure out a structure. Have somebody whose sole job is to come up with a contract structure, a way to do deferrals, a way to do all of this stuff where you can gain a competitive edge. Because the Dodgers are not going to feel sorry for you. They're just going to continue to do it. And no, the league doesn't need to institute rules. There's nothing the Dodgers are doing that are against the rules. They still have to pay out all this money. Now, the Ohtani contract was, I think, taking deferrals to a whole new meaning because it was a $700 million contract in which 680 of it was deferred. That was a level that we've never seen before because it's a unicorn of a player who is making a ton of money in endorsements from Japan, and it's just a unique scenario. Blake Snell's not deferring that much money in comparison. The value on the contract, so we signed a 5-year, $182 million contract with the Dodgers. When you take in the deferrals into account, the present-day value is, according to some people who do this for a living, who make these kinds of adjustments, is around 5 years, $171 million. So this is not what the Dodgers originally did with Ohtani. It's not to that level. There are some deferrals in there, but it's not to the level of what Ohtani did. Now, trust me, do I like the fact that the Dodgers added Blake Snell to their rotation? No, I don't like that. You can be mad at that, be mad at the Dodgers getting a good player, but don't upend the rules of baseball. There are haves and have-nots. There are teams that can spend a lot of money. But here is the thing that I think is important. And you're going to see this, and I'll give you the example of this. I don't think the Dodgers, I could be wrong. I don't have access to their books. I can't prove this. This is what I believe. This is what I feel. The Dodgers signed Shohei Ohtani to that big contract. Traded for Tyler Glasnow, gave him an extension. Signed Mookie Betts. Traded for him. Got Freddie Freeman. Signed him to a deal. Now made this deal for Blake Snell. I think that if you look at what the Dodgers spend, and I'm going to tell you what they are currently slated to spend for 2025, what their current setup looks like for 2025, what their current payroll looks like. And I'm going to compare it to something. So their estimated final payroll in 2024 was $326 million. So that's how much they paid for players. That was what their final payroll was. Their collective bargaining tax, their estimated luxury tax payroll for 2025 right now is $304 million. So that includes arbitration. It includes some luxury tax payments. It includes a lot of different stuff, right? So $304 million is their estimated luxury tax payroll. So they are past right now the last threshold. Do you think that the Dodgers made more than $304 million last year in TV revenue and ticket sales and jersey sales and all the advertisement they got from signing Shohei Ohtani? Do you think that if you were doing a basic budget, I do one at home every month, income in, everything I got to pay out, you want your budget, the stuff that comes in to be more than what goes out, right? That's what you do when you do a basic budget. I asked this question honestly. Do you think with a estimated payroll last year of $326 million, do you think the Dodgers made more than $326 million across the board? I don't know the answer. My gut tells me yes. My gut tells me they spent within their means. Now, you want to talk about Juan Soto and the New York Mets and what Steve Cohen's going to do, where he's going to dip into his own pocket, and they're running payrolls close to, if not more than what the Dodgers are doing, and they're not making that kind of money because they haven't had the sustained success that the Dodgers have had, so they're dipping into the resources of Steve Cohen. That's a different conversation. But I think if you actually opened up the books on the Los Angeles Dodgers, I think you'd be shocked to find out. Maybe you wouldn't be, but I think you would find out that they had a payroll of $326 million last year, and they probably made more than that across the board. And so they are spending within their means. It bothers you. I get it. But they are spending within their means. Now, if they're not, that's a fair conversation to have. because then they are dipping into the personal wealth of their owners, and there's going to be a limit that other teams meet that they can go past. We might be able to have some conversations about what that should look like. Should there be a salary cap, and should there be limits on spending? Okay, fair. But there's nothing about the deferrals, there's nothing about this contract that feels to me out of bounds. It's annoying, but the Dodgers have set themselves up for this with the way that they've structured contracts. All those tools are available to the other teams. You got to take advantage of it. You got to do the same thing. So if you are mad today at the Dodgers because the Dodgers got another good player, you can be mad. But you also need to be mad at your team. Be mad at your front office. Be mad at your organization for not trying to find creative ways to do this. Because you have limited resources. I'll be the first person to admit. But guess what? You got to find a way to be creative with those limited resources. What can we do to maybe get us closer to being able to play on that playing field? You're not going to be able to match them dollar for dollar, but can you get close? Can you do creative things to get you close to that? You don't know until you try. On the other side, a Wednesday edition of the Schubert Six. 6 plays for you. We try to get back into the win column after a 3-3 week last week. We try to get above 500. We try to rebound in the season. The Week 13 edition of the Schubert Six is next. The lunch break, KDUS AM 1060. Oh, yeah, I can smell the turkey. I can smell it. It's right around the corner. Welcome back to Lunch Break, KDUS AM 1060. I have a group chat going with the people that I will be spending Thanksgiving with. And I got the best text that I've gotten all day today because the menu was put in there. And I got to tell you, there's a lot of there's turkey legs on here. There's mac and cheese on here. We're not doing turkey this year. We're doing picana. I got mashed potatoes in here. I mean, I've got everything that you could ask for tomorrow. I am ready to go. And while I am enjoying those festivities, while I am enjoying the turkey legs, I'm enjoying whatever snacks we have, while I'm enjoying all of that stuff, I will also be painstakingly watching the Thanksgiving football games. Why? Because unfortunately this week, they are a part of the Schubert Six. All right. It was a 3-3 week last week. I'm not going to go on another rant like we did last week. But we need to keep this going. Because we were 2-4 the week before. A lot of people called me out on social media. We kind of responded. A 3-3 response was a decent response. I want better. I want 5-1. I want the rare 6-0 week. I want to come in here on a Monday and we're just playing songs and it's just celebration for 2 hours because we went 6-0. So we're going to start with our 1-point play. I'll be enjoying some of those items that I listed off to you on the menu tomorrow while this game is going on. Boy, do I hate everything about this. It originally was the over, I'll tell you that, but I changed it. I don't know who's playing quarterback for the Giants. I don't. Could be Drew Lock. Could be Tommy DeVito. Could be Tim Boyle. I have no idea who's going to be playing quarterback for the New York Giants tomorrow. I know who's going to play quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. It's going to be Cooper Rush. I saw this team have some fight last week when they played the Washington Commanders on the road. This team's still looking for their first home win of the season. Still searching for it. They've been blown out in every game they've played at home this season. It's been brutal. An absolute disaster. The Giants, offensive lineman hurt. I don't know who their quarterback's going to be. They showed just the least amount of effort I've seen from a football team this season last week against the Tampa Bay Bucs. You think they're going to go on the road, fly down to Dallas on Thanksgiving, and put together a better effort? Oh, no, 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 no. My 1-point play, and it's a 1-point play because it is still the Dallas Cowboys, but I'm taking the Cowboys minus 3.5 tomorrow against the Giants. I don't know who the quarterback is for the Giants. I don't think it matters, but if it is Tommy DeVito, they stink. They were bad last week. They couldn't muster up anything. If it's Drew Lock, this offensive line is not very good. It doesn't matter who you put. I mean, you got Daniel Jones signing with the Vikings practice squad today. I mean, it doesn't matter who the quarterback is. They are not good offensively. And I don't need Dallas to be great, but I watched them put up 34 points last week. You're telling me if they could do that against Washington, they can't put up, 27? You get to 27, the Giants ain't getting to 20. That's why I was afraid of the over in this game, because I don't know where the heavy lifting is going to come from. Give me Dallas minus 3.5 against the Giants as the 1-point play. The 2-point play, we are going right back to the well. It didn't work for us last week. That means it's a great bounce back spot for us this week. So while we're waiting for the 1-point play, while we're waiting for Dallas and the Giants, we'll be watching Bears-Lions. We'll be watching Bears-Lions for 2 of our plays this week. Our first will be our 2-point play. He had a touchdown in 8 straight games. It got snapped. He starts a new streak this week. Amon-Ra St. Brown, anytime touchdown scorer as our 2-point play. One of the focal points of this offense. The reason why he didn't get into the end zone last week, they ran the ball really well. They had Gibbs and Montgomery going, and they were able to do a lot on the ground. Against this Bears team, I think they're going to be able to do a lot on the ground, but they're going to need to be able to move the ball through the air. And I think they will do so, and it will end with an Amon-Ra St. Brown touchdown. That is our 2-point play. Our 3-point play. We're taking a road underdog. That's right. We're getting points this week. Normally we give points. We just give it away like it's Halloween candy. 10.5 here, 7.5 there. We're just giving away points. Give me points this week. Because our 3-point play, we're going to get 3 points. We're going to take the Pittsburgh Steelers +3 against the Cincinnati Bengals. You're telling me, divisional game, coming off of a loss the week before. It's basically a de facto mini-bye. Mike Tomlin's really good off of the bye. Really good when he has extra time to prepare. And he has extra time to prepare for a team that he faces pretty regularly in the Cincinnati Bengals. I know it's on the road. The Bengals defense has not been very good. You're giving me 3 points with a Mike Tomlin coach team looking for a bounce back at 8-3. They're a good football team. Now, they could lose this game. I just need them to lose it by a field goal or less, but I think they win the football game. So I'm going to take the Pittsburgh Steelers as a road underdog. This is all because of who their coach is and how prepared he has them for moments like this. Mini bye because they played on Thursday. They now are going to go on the road to take on Cincinnati, needing to bounce back from their loss to the Browns. I think they do so, and I think this line is giving too much credit to the Bengals. Give me the Steelers +3. Our 4-point play. I mentioned we had 2 plays. 2 of them from Bears-Lions. So not only are we taking Amon-Ra St. Brown anytime touchdown, the Lions offense has been really good. The Bears, in a comeback fashion last week, put up 27 points. Give me Bears-Lions over 48.5. Because despite all of the losing that they've done recently, Caleb Williams is starting to play better football. And the Lions defense is good. I don't know if they have consistent pass rush. I think there's a chance for some points to get put on the board in this game. And look, when you're betting a number like this, it's 49. Think about it this way. If you get to 28-14, so the Bears score 2 touchdowns, if the Bears are the team you're worried about because you think the Lions defense is really good, 28-14, 4 touchdowns from the Lions, you're at 42. You need 7 touchdowns in this game. You don't think between these 2 teams you're going to get 7 touchdowns? I think you are. I think with Goff, we've seen what they've been able to do. They can score at will. They can score in bunches. They put up 52 a couple of weeks ago. A lot of crooked numbers go up there for Detroit. Doesn't matter who they've played. I like Bears-Lions over 48.5. Again, I think both offenses are going to be able to get into the 20s. And if you do that, you're going to have a chance in this game to hit the total. Our 5-point play, it's rare for us to do this. It's rare. We're going to come in here on Monday not knowing our 5-point play because our 5-point play is the Monday Night Football game. Taking the Broncos -5.5 against the Browns. Browns, they also have the mini bye because they played on Thursday night. They were able to win against the Steelers, but they're still not a good football team. And what I like the most about the Broncos is I wouldn't call it impressive what they're doing because they're just beating the teams on their schedule and the teams that they're playing aren't great, but they don't really trip up. They just kind of take care of business. They just kind of trot along, they do what they're supposed to do, and they win football games. It's exactly how the game went. I don't know how much of Broncos-Raiders you watched. I watched more than I care to admit here on this show because I had some stuff going on in that football game on Sunday. But the Broncos, they never ran away with it. They were just kind of in cruise control. They were just on the highway. They had the cruise set. Foot was off the gas pedal. They were just kind of just meandering through traffic, just driving up and down the highway. The Raiders tried to make it close late, but the Broncos ended up winning the football game and covering, and I think that's exactly what they do against this Browns team. It's a home game. It's in Denver. I think this is, I don't know how much stock you put into this, but they're going to get to have Thanksgiving at home with their families, no travel, not having to worry about leaving early. They get to play on Monday, so it's an extra day of preparation. So the fact that the holiday is on Thursday is not going to impact their prep because they play on Monday instead of Sunday. Just all of these things. They're a well-coached team. Sean Payton's doing a really nice job with them. So I'll take the Broncos -5.5 against the Browns. I told you we like the Thanksgiving games, didn't I? That they were all over the Schubert 6. How about one more play for you? How about our 6-point play? Because I know they've beaten the Raiders. I know they've beaten the Dolphins, or they've beaten the Patriots. I know they've got themselves back into the AFC playoff picture with, 3 wins in a row? They played the Rams. They played the Raiders. They played the Patriots. They haven't really played anybody the last month or so. They're going on the road. They're going to an outdoor environment in November. We know that Tua's not that great outdoors in the cold weather. We've seen it. We've seen this team not necessarily play their best football on the road in the cold weather. This Packers team just beat the 49ers the week before in Lambeau. Took care of business. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to go for the clean sweep. We're going to have something for the Schubert 6 in every single game on Thanksgiving. So either we're going to wake up Friday and we're going to have our 6-point play locked up, We're going to have our 4-point play locked up. We're going to have our 2 and our 1-point play locked up. We're going to have a lot of points locked up, or it's going to be a really important Monday night game. Because our 6-point play, the Packers are only 3.5-point favorites at home against the Dolphins. I know the Dolphins have played good football lately. I get that. I'm giving it to them. They have won 3 in a row to put themselves back in the AFC playoff picture. That's impressive. That deserves its kudos. They haven't played the Packers. They haven't played a team like the Packers during this stretch. They're going to go on the road and play a Packers team that, let's face it, they got to put that game on cruise control. They got to gear down in the second half against the 49ers. They owned them. Absolutely owned them. Took care of business. It was easy work. Josh Jacobs, 3 touchdowns. And so you're telling me that if the Packers win this football game, they're not going to do it by more than 3 points? If they do, they're going to win this game by 10 points. They're going to win this game by at least a touchdown. I don't think this is a close game going into the fourth quarter. I think the Dolphins are going to win this game and surprise everybody, or the Packers are going to, I don't want to say blow out, meaning it's going to be 3+ scores, but they're going to have a 10, 14, 17-point lead. They're going to have a big lead in this game. It's going to look very similar to the way it did against San Francisco. So our 6-point play, the Packers minus 3.5 against the Dolphins. So we have everything all across the board tomorrow. We have something in Dallas, in New York. We have a lot in Bears and Lions. And we also have stuff in the night game with the Packers and the Dolphins. So to recap, to be able to put this on social media, our 1-point play, Dallas minus 3.5 against the Giants. Don't know who the quarterback is going to be for the Giants. Dallas showed me some fight last week. They'll cover the 3.5 and win. Our 2-point play, we're going back to the well. He starts a new streak. Amon-Ra St. Brown, anytime touchdown. 3-point, we'll take the Steelers as 3-point dogs against the Bengals. Mike Tomlin really coaches up his teams well when they have a bye or a mini bye. They'll take care of business there. Our 4-point play, Bears Lions over 48.5. Our 5-point play, we have to wait till Monday. Broncos minus 5.5 against the Browns. They've just been on cruise control. They've just taken care of business. And our 6-point play, the Packers minus 3.5 against the Dolphins. The Dolphins, 3-game winning streak, put themselves back into the AFC playoff picture, but haven't played a team like the Packers. Packers coming off of a big win the week prior. They cover the 3.5. That is your Schubert 6 for week 13 in the NFL calendar. So I'm going to wake up on Friday and I'm going to know a lot. I'm going to know if we have, what would that be? That'd be 10, 12, 13 of a possible 21 points will be known right away. So we'll know if we were for 13 for 13 or we have some portion of it. We'd obviously like the 4-point play and the 6-point play. That would set us up for a really nice weekend, but we will see. And if you tail along with us, I know some of you have in the past, good luck to you this weekend and specifically tomorrow if you do tail the plays. On the other side, we wrap up in the most fitting version of them all. We call this segment The Leftovers, and it couldn't mean more on a day like today as we are one day away from Thanksgiving. It is The Leftovers. Next, the lunch break, KDUS AM 1060. Back to wrap up this edition of The Lunch Break. KDUS AM 1060. I think I've let everybody know about this programming note, but we will take the time here to be able to do that. No show tomorrow. No show on Friday. The next time we will be with you is on Monday. You got Doug Gottlieb coming up next, followed by Rich Eisen. Then you got the Sports Zoo with Rooster from 5 to 6. And then starting at 6 o'clock here on KDUS AM 1060, you got NAU men's basketball. That tips off at 6 o'clock. The pregame show starting at 5:30 can be heard over on 1440 AM. So if you want to catch the pregame show with Mitch Stroman, you can do so on 1440, and then the game will start. It'll be on both stations, but the tip will be on 1060 starting at 6 o'clock. So some programming notes. We've also got Raiders football for you on Friday. Raiders-Chiefs Black Friday game you can hear right here on KDUS AM 1060. So that's your programming note. And NAU football has a playoff game on Saturday. So you can listen to that starting right here at 12 o'clock on KDUS AM 1060. So a lot of live sports action for you here over the next couple of days. We appreciate you joining us. The phone number, 480-864-1060 for last call. You can also join us on YouTube, KDUS AM 1060 over there. Just search us, and the show should pop right up for you to be able to click on and join the conversation. I don't think I got an app plug-in here to close the show. Download the KDUS AM 1060 app so you can take the station with you on the go. Maybe you are traveling, and on Monday you're going to miss the lunch break because you're traveling back, but you want to be able to hear it. Download the KDUS AM 1060 app. You can take the show with you on the go. I know a bunch of people that are family members of mine who don't live in the state of Arizona. That's how they listen to the show. And if you register and you log in while you're listening, you have a chance to win a $100 gift card to Von Hansen's. We pull one of those names every single week here on the show, so you have an opportunity to do that. So if you're going to listen to the show, do so on the app. You have your chance to win a gift card to Von Hansen's. The leftovers, all of the stuff, and it's so apropos because of it being Thanksgiving. There's going to be a lot of leftovers. Producer Dylan, I'd love your thoughts on this. Are we pro or anti the Thanksgiving leftover? Are we we're pro? Okay, dumb question. My apologies.
Big pro leftovers.
Okay, sorry to the audience. The face that producer Dylan made to me was like, how dare you ask that question?
I was a little offended.
Yeah, I apologize. I apologize for offending you with that question. I am pro leftover. The thing I worry about, and it probably makes me weird, but I almost have to, like, the day or two prior, like Monday, Tuesday, and today, I almost have to, like, prepare the fridge. Like, I got to start throwing out stuff like, all right, we haven't made this in a couple of days. We were supposed to. It's out. I got to make room for the leftover turkey or the leftover ham or whatever you do for Thanksgiving. I got to be prepared. Now, here's a question for you. I'm going to somebody's house. They're going to offer me leftovers to take home. How aggressive can I get in the leftover consumption business? Because if it's at my house, right, if I was hosting Thanksgiving, the leftovers are my turf, right? I can, as the person who's hosting, I can divvy up leftovers how I see fit, and I can keep what I want for myself. When you're at somebody else's house, I'm not going to say, oh, I'll take that off. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to wait for the offer. So if I don't get the offer, no leftovers, okay, no problem. But if the offer is out there, is there an acceptable standard that I have to hold myself to?
I mean, I think you should be pretty greedy, if I'm going to be honest with you.
So
I think so much stuff gets thrown away anyways. I think you should raid the fridge like as if you're a homeless person.
So as if it's my own fridge at home, I should raid the fridge of leftovers. Okay. All right. That's fair. I should raid the fridge as if it's my last meal. Okay. I will report back on Monday on how that goes. Because here's the other thing. I always feel bad taking the leftovers because then I feel an obligation that I got to eat them all. Like, I have to eat everything I take. And so I'm always of the default of, no, you keep it. That pressure's on you. You're the one that has to get rid of it. Because if I'm the same way if I go out. If I go out to a restaurant and we get a to-go box, I now feel some semblance of an obligation because the waiter or waitress, they brought me this box. I have brought this food home. I have to see this through. I cannot let the box just sit there in the fridge. I have to see this process through. There's pressure that gets put on me for just having a meal. I just had a nice meal, and I've put all this pressure on myself. So that's how I feel about leftovers. I'll report back to see how it goes on Monday. I'll tell you how many leftovers I was able to procure, or if I just decided, because it's not just me. I got a fiance, daughter. They're not going to eat the leftovers. It's all going to fall on me.
Oh, it's all your responsibility.
Yeah, because in our house, hopefully I'm not telling too many tales out of school, and if she's listening, maybe I'll get in trouble for it later. But in our house, if we make something and there's leftovers, there is a day of the week that we refer to as like leftover clean out day, and it is me. All 3 of my meals that day are me just clearing out the leftovers. It's me. It's nobody else. Nobody else in the house is going to make the leftovers. It's all going to fall on me. It's going to be my responsibility over like a 2-day period to clean out the fridge. So if we take some leftovers tomorrow, the onus is going to fall on me to clear the entire fridge.
Are you a good chef, Chris?
I am a decent chef. I would never make the claim that I am a good chef. I'm a decent chef. I make a mean steak. We have a Blackstone that I got for my birthday. So I cook on that, I would say, semi-regularly. It's been a little cold out, and we've been doing a lot of softball-related stuff with our daughter, so I haven't been able to break out the Blackstone as regularly as I would like to, but I cook a mean steak. That's kind of my go-to meal. My fiance makes a mean buffalo chicken pasta. That's kind of when our daughter's like, hey, can we make the buffalo chicken pasta? I just wait. I just sit out on that one. That's not my recipe. I don't deal with that. But I would say I'm a decent chef. Now I'm doing the most low maintenance thing of all time. We agreed that we would bring one of the sides for tomorrow. So we're bringing mac and cheese. I bought 3. Now this was planned. I didn't take the cheap way out, or I didn't take the lowest workload path out, right? We made this decision. This is what we wanted to do. But we're bringing a side. And we're bringing mac and cheese. And I just went to Costco yesterday and bought 3 tubs of the Costco mac and cheese. That's what I did.
It's the Thanksgiving side draft.
Exactly. Like we did yesterday on the show. And my number 2 pick was mac and cheese in the Thanksgiving side draft that I did with producer Corey yesterday, in which we very quickly realized there's not a lot of sides that we actually like. There's maybe 6 or 7. And then you start getting to the bottom of the barrel and you're like, I guess I'll take yams and cornbread. That was how my draft turned out yesterday. If you missed that, you can listen to it in the podcast feed. Because I came out hot. Mashed potatoes and gravy. I had corn, mac and cheese. I was building just a perfect squad. And then Corey took stuffing. He took rolls. And I was like, boy, I don't like anything else. I don't like anything other than those 5 things. Now, I'm having turkey legs tomorrow. I didn't consider that a side when doing the draft. But it's on the list as a side for tomorrow, for my Thanksgiving. So I will let everybody know how the leftovers go. Speaking of the leftovers, let's do some leftover stories here for this week on the show. I mentioned it a little bit when we talked earlier about the Giants, but Daniel Jones did pick his landing spot. He cleared waivers on Monday, and it kind of came and went. And reports came out that he was going to take his time, and his landing spot maybe wasn't going to be as quickly decided on as we thought. And we learned this morning that he has decided to hook on to the Minnesota Vikings, but on their practice squad. So a low-risk move for Minnesota. They don't have to free up a roster spot for him, but he is there in case of an injury to Sam Darnold. He's maybe there so that they can get an up-close and personal look at him. I saw this on social media today, and I'm kind of confused by the take because it doesn't really make sense to me. They signed him to their practice squad, right? And I saw a lot of people say, oh, this allows them to get a jump on evaluating him as a potential bridge for J.J. McCarthy, right? J.J. McCarthy, first-round pick, coming off the knee injury. Maybe he needs a little more time in his rehab, and so Daniel Jones is a nice bridge until McCarthy's able to come back because Sam Darnold, with the season that he's having, is probably going to price himself out of Minnesota. He's going to probably get a multi-year, probably going to be worth, $30 million? Which is insane to say about Sam Darnold, but $35 million a season on probably a 3-4 year deal. So the Minnesota Vikings probably don't want to be in the Sam Darnold business. Not at that price tag. So they want to get into the Daniel Jones business because that's a cheap alternative. But the problem is yes, he hooked onto the practice squad. But if things go the way they're supposed to go for Minnesota, he's not going to see the field for them. And so, yeah, you get to evaluate how he practices. You get to evaluate how he works. And you get to put him to work in your system. But he's then going to be a free agent. You didn't sign him to a multi-year deal. So this idea that he could be the bridge, sure, he could be. It's a likely landing spot. But in the offseason, almost everybody's looking for quarterback answers. Everybody's looking for a backup quarterback. There are teams now, I'll give you an example. The Patriots right now don't have a need at the backup quarterback position. They might in the offseason. They might want to upgrade from Jacoby Brissett. They benched him earlier than they wanted to. Daniel Jones might be the perfect backup for Drake May. So during the season, when you're 3-9, maybe you don't need a backup, but you become that team in the offseason. So there's going to be more suitors. There's going to be more teams interested. And so this idea that, this gives the Vikings, a bridge option. Look at this for J.J. McCarthy. Are we sure about that? Are we sure that's how this is going to play out? I'm surprised he didn't hook up with a team where he could start and showcase that he has the ability to play in this league still. That shocks me. But he's good. He ends up with the Vikings. He's on their practice squad. We'll see if he plays for them down the stretch. Speaking of former Giants quarterbacks, we'll talk about the Giants now. Tommy DeVito, a long shot to play, according to sources, isn't traveling with the team on their charter to Dallas, is planning on joining them later on today, so didn't leave with the team because he was undergoing additional scans and tests. And it looks like Drew Lock is going to play with Tim Boyle being the backup. So he didn't travel with the team today to Dallas as he was undergoing further testing on his forearm injury. But the team did say that he is on track to join the team in Dallas later today. So he's going to travel later. But that doesn't bode well. You're staying behind to get additional testing. You were a limited participant in the walkthrough. It's a short week. It just does not feel like a path for him to be able to play this Sunday. So it means Drew Lock is going to play. It's part of the reason why we're picking the Cowboys -3.5 as our 1-point play. I wish I had the gumption to make it a bigger play than the 1-point play, but it's the Dallas Cowboys and it's the New York Giants. And I wasn't sure. Originally, let me walk everybody through. This is how we'll close the show today. I'll walk everybody through the Schubert 6 process. I sit down and I make the decision, okay, this 30 to 45 minute window is where we're going to start the research. And I pick a day and I just go through the games and I decide on what games I'm going to pick. And I do the research and I just comb over everything. When I sat down this week to start the prep, and what I immediately do is I immediately just write down games that intrigue me, right? Okay, this total intrigues me. This spread intrigues me. Okay, this is interesting. This number feels wrong. All that kind of stuff. I went through the whole list and I just kept going down and I didn't write anything down. And then I got to the bottom and I looked down at the piece of paper and I didn't have anything written down. So then I was like, well, now I gotta do this work again because there's something that I'm missing. And we got to a place. We picked the total. We picked the touchdown prop. I started to like more of tomorrow's games in comparison to what there was on Sunday. Like Chargers, Falcons, I don't know what to do with that. I really don't. Saints, Rams, I didn't know what to do with that either. You could tell me either one of those teams are going to win. And so when that stuff happens, I lean towards totals. And even those numbers I thought were pretty sharp this week. So hopefully we have a big week for the Schubert 6. As we get out of here, once again, appreciate all of you listening. Incredibly grateful and thankful for all of you that listen to the show. Hope you all have a fantastic holiday weekend, a fantastic Thanksgiving tomorrow. You enjoy the football. You enjoy the time off. We're back on Monday to recap it all. An ASU Big 12 championship game, a Cardinals win. Who knows what we'll have in store on Monday's show. But everybody make it a great holiday weekend. We'll talk to you on Monday. See ya.